First of all, Eric, welcome. You're back at Galatasaray after 10 years and became the captain immediately. How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I think it speaks volumes of the coaching staff believing in me, and my leadership, but also my teammates. I think being a captain or a leader is important to know how to follow as well as lead, to be humble, mature, and to set a good example. So I aim to do that, and help the team any way I can, and try to set a good example for the guys who are younger and part of the organization.
How was the transfer process?
It was it was nice because I got to talk with Jakob. I understand his philosophy, his coaching principles. I understand him as a man, his character, from our previous experiences at Galatasaray as well as at Memphis when we were together. And I think, that gives you, comfort. And then also, knowing Galatasaray, as an organization, the years I spent here, a lot of people are still here that were here from the beginning when I was here. So, that kind of makes your transition a lot easier and smoother. Obviously, I'm familiar with Turkey, everything it brings from a cultural standpoint, and my family is as well. And, anytime your family can be comfortable somewhere and adapt, it's easy for you as a player, to seam in and, to adjust.
Compared to 10 years ago, what things do you find the same and different in the club?
I think, our style of play, up tempo, getting after it. I think being aggressive, being an attacker, I think that's something that, is very similar. That type of mindset, obviously the expectation of winning, doing well. And that's something that carries you with you throughout Galatasaray. And, no matter if it's now, 10 years ago, the fans, the organization, they expect winning. And that's something that I expect as well. I think difference is, obviously my role. I'm older, so I have to be, more mature, focused on the team, making sure that everybody's doing, what the coach needs, following the plan, and making sure I'm doing it as well. When you're younger, you're trying to find your fit, your feel. You're more focused on yourself. As you get older, you already know what you can do. You already know how you fit in. So now your focus shifts to, the team. And I think, that's the difference. My role from, being 25 years old, trying to find my way in Europe, trying to establish myself to now being 37, already established in Europe, and just continue trying to win and solidify yourself as a winner and as a player. At the end of the day, I always play to win and I always play to do the best I can. So, that never changes, but just your role, your mindset, and being more selfless.
Yeah. And at Karşıyaka, I mean, like a year ago, you were the team's main player and average over 30 minutes. But after Karşıyaka in Fenerbahçe, your role and playing time were different. What kind of Eric McCollum are we going to see this year?
Whatever the team needs. I think everywhere I go, you always see scoring. You always see that ability to score the basketball, creation, and you always see someone who's going to be consistent, who's going to be out there. I'm a guy who doesn't really miss games. I'm a guy that comes out there, puts forth his best effort, and I'm a guy that have to send two people. You're gonna have to double. You're gonna have to bring help. One man cannot guard me, even at 37. So I think that's something that was evident last year. In the EuroLeague, I was the second leading scorer on the championship team. And I think that's something that you'll continue to see here. Obviously, whether your minutes are high or low, you just do what the team needs, and you'll find me being efficient. Shooting good percentages and doing what the team needs in those moments.
And after your performance last season, have you received any EuroLeague offers either?
Yeah, I had some teams that were interested, that wanted me, but for me, I also wanted to stay in Turkey. I knew it was a good fit for my family. My son is 5. He goes to school. You need international school. You need things that work for you. I also, wanted to work with a coach who I had a relationship with, who, I know what to expect, who knows what to expect of me. That kind of gives you that confidence on the court, but also allows you to you just focus on basketball. Off the court, I know what's going to be expected of me. I know how my family will adjust. As you get older, you start to think not just basketball terms, you think family and basketball. So I think Galatasaray afforded me, a place where I could be myself, where I could play my game, but also where I had an opportunity to win and compete for a championship, which is important for me, but was a place that my family could feel like home. So when you combine those three things, any team I'm looking for, they had to have that. And I feel like Galatasaray provided that.
Yeah. Does your son speak Turkish?
Yeah, he does. He's still
Native
working.
stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still working on some of it, but he actually speaks it pretty well. He can count probably up to like 30, and he obviously knows like all the hello, goodbye, how are you doing? And he has Turkish friends, and that's kind of helped his English development. And at school, it's an English school, but they speak Turkish as well. So like, there's one teacher speaking English, there's one speaking Turkish to kind of help the kids, keep up, who are using English as a second language. And it also helps him keep up with his Turkish because that's his second language.
Does he better than you?
Oh, for sure, he's better than me. Like I speak Turkish, but like not great. It's like he has a better accent, and he hears it a lot more often than me. Whereas in sports, they're going to speak a lot of English, things that make it easy for us foreigners. But sometimes where he's playing with kids at the playground, maybe there's no choice but to hear Turkish. So he has to adapt and just, and it's fun to see him kind of grow and develop. And I think it makes you a better person when you can entertain and deal with different cultures. You can be patient, and I think it's gonna make him God willing, a great man.
Eric, like you mentioned, you're 37 years old and became a EuroLeague champion last year. How do you keep yourself motivated to continue your career?
For me, I enjoy it. It's fun. Anytime you do what you love to do for a living, it makes it worthy. Makes it easy to go to practice. Makes it easy to pick up the basketball. And then it's something I've done my whole career. Like I've always worked. I've always put the time in. And once you develop that mindset, it just becomes who you are. It's no longer doing extra work or doing extra shooting. It's just part of your DNA, part of your character. So I always like to have success on the court. I like to win and I like to play well. And I understand that the only way you can do that is if you put in extra time. So, winning, motivates me and drives me. Being a good player, helping the team win, that motivates me. It shifts when you're younger. Maybe you're chasing money. Maybe you're chasing to get to the highest level. And when you've done those things, only thing that you're chasing now is just success and legacy. And I think for me, it's just continue to build on that, win as much as I can, but enjoying it, having fun. And another motivation, I guess, is my son. He starts to like basketball, and these are moments he can remember. So I want him to see his father as still a dynamic player.
He plays for Galatasaray also?
Yes, for the
Yeah.
young kids, and he's in the elite basketball program. So like they're training and working out, and learning the fundamentals, the basics. He's playing with older kids because like I like him to be challenged. He's 5, but he's playing with 6 and 7-year-olds. So he wants me to play well too. So I have extra motivation there too. So I try to set a good example for him and put a good memory in his mind. So this is some 20 years from now, 15 years from now, he will remember and carry with him, and something that's special for me.
Yeah. Your rival in the same league, Marcelino Huertas, is 42 and still playing at a very high level. Do you think we could see similar longevity from you?
My wife would probably be mad if I played to 42. But
You talk with her?
it's different.
Probably you do.
Yeah, I think it's different because Hertas, he's in his country, right? Like, okay, he's not from Spain, but like it's a similar culture. He's been there so long. I think my wife loves Turkey, but she misses home. She misses her family as well as I. But for me, I enjoy it as long as I still enjoy it and it's convenient for my family. I will keep playing, but eventually the ball will stop bouncing. And I think for me, when I do lead a game, it won't be because of performance or because of my ability. It would just because I'm ready to do something with my family to try the next stage of life. Can I still play probably to 42? I think so. God willing, if you have good health, you continue to take care of your body. I have the frame where I can have longevity, but I think realistically, for my family, for my kids, being around them every day, having them have that, structure, that system, and then, trying to, bring them around our families a little bit more as they get older. I think that will probably be the reason why not stop playing basketball. It will be just because I'm sacrificing for the family. Because for 16 years, they've sacrificed for me. Allowed me to go to different countries, play different places, and it's only right that eventually I have to return the favor. And I look forward to it. Because that will be the reward for them to be home, to be with their family, and to have some stability. Because even being overseas, switching teams, switching homes, switching schools, like it's not easy for your family. So I think every man, eventually you have to sacrifice. And, for me, it will be easy to sacrifice for my family because they are number one for me.
Yeah. But at first, probably you haven't thought that you'll be playing until 27, right?
I did not think when you're young, the ages seem so long away. They seem so relative. Like you think when you're 20 years old, you think 30 is old. When you're 30, you think 40 is old. And then as you start to get older, you get perspective on life and you realize that, 37 maybe for some is old, but, you still have a whole nother life to live.
Yeah,
So for me, I think
you got a good life in here as
yes,
well.
I loved it. I loved it. I think I continue to play because I enjoy the game. I enjoy the culture. I enjoy being in Turkey, and I also love the people. Like anytime you're working with people that are respectful, that treat you and your family the right way, and you treat them the same way, I think it makes it easy to be anywhere. And I think that's what I find here. So I'd like to play, as long as God allows me, as long as I'm healthy. But I will never play if I cannot affect the games. If I am not, still a good player. Like I'm a guy that I will only play if I can be dynamic. The moment I'm not dynamic, I will stop. The money does not move me. Like playing, like I will not play if I cannot, be an impact player. So I think I still have that ability. I showed it last year. I've showed it, at Karşıyaka as well. So my plan is to show it here and for that to translate to winning.
Yeah, you talk about culture. Do you consider Turkey as your second home?
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's a place that, I'm comfortable with. My family loves to visit too, not just my wife and kids, but also like,
Your
our
brother?
parents, or my brother, my cousins, like everybody who's come here, they really enjoyed Turkey. It's been an experience for them, eye opening, and it's something that I recommend people doing. Coming to different cities. Istanbul is lovely, Izmir, different places you can go to if you want have time for the beach. Bodrum, Chesme, like I've got very familiar with Turkey, just being here and, experiencing different places and meeting great people. So for me, like, it's special. My daughter was born in Turkey.
Yeah. Do young players from United States reach you about knowing something about Turkey as well?
Yes, often. Sometimes they call me and ask me about,
Like who?
like um, before Boston for Finner.
Hmm.
He asked me about my experience there before he signed. How it was. He played with my brother in New
Yeah.
Orleans, so I was able to tell him my experience, tell him how Turkey's beneficial, how I enjoyed it. You know, many guys who've played here throughout time, throughout past, they been able to reach out, and ask me sometimes when I was at Karşıyaka, sometimes it's on the current team that I'm currently on, sometimes it's on a different team. And, somebody just want to tell them, how good the Turkish league is, for a player, it could be good for your career. So many top teams, so many places you can go and elevate your career or establish your career here, and become a household name in Europe and, put yourself in a position financially to take care of your family, but also to enjoy living. Like
Yeah.
it's not many places where you can make good money, have a good basketball career, but also have a good life off the court living. And I think Turkey provides it all in one. So, it's an easy adjustment off the court. On the court, it could be a challenge because, there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of talent. You have to be able to, to stack up. But if you can do that, and if you can meet um, the demands and needs of as being a player here, I think you can have a lot of success and longevity and happiness in this game.
Yeah. You have won both the Euro Cup and the Euro League, but only competition missing from your resume is Basketball Champions League. Does that give you extra motivation?
Yes, for sure. I think winning in general always does it, but I don't know. Maybe I might be the only one who's won EuroLeague and Euro Cup, and then
I gotta
and
check.
if maybe I could win Champions League, maybe I don't know. You have to check, but I think motivation always for me is winning a championship at this stage. That's why I picked this team as well. They were so close. They went to the finals in Champions League, and I felt like they were right there, and I'm hoping that maybe I can help. Maybe lift the trophy again. It's been, as you said, 10 years, and, no time like the present. But, the championships are tough. You need good health. You need chemistry. You need things to go your way. You need a little bit of luck. And you need everybody to buy into the system. So, it's not something that you flick your fingers and it happens. But, when everything comes into place, I think this is a club where it's possible. And we've done it before. So I'm hoping we can kind of recreate that magic. But it's going to take time. Be patient, and you're going to see us continue to get better and better each game.
In the third question, you said that I saw some similarities back then 10 years ago, which is like style of basketball. And Jakub Sekizkök worked with Ergin Ataman for many years, still works with him on the national team. Do you see any similarities or what are the differences between them?
Yeah, it's a lot of similarities. I mean, anytime you work with somebody for so long and they've had so much success, you can tell they're like-minded. Their tempo, how they play, offensive strategy, their spacing, some of their sets, but also their ability to adapt to player strengths. Oftentimes coaches have a system. This is what it's going to be, and they don't get outside of that. But with Jakob or Ergen, um, they're guys that adapt their system to the player.
Mhm.
I think I seen an interview earlier with Ergen talking about how he adapts to his player. He plays modern basketball, sometimes inside, sometimes outside. But depending on the matchup, depending on the player, he adapts it. He says like if he tries to put a player in a box, they will not be who they are. They will not be. You sign a player to be who he is, right? To play at that level, to do what he did similar to last season. So you don't bring them somewhere and then change all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the special thing about Jakob and about Ergen. They're going to let you play your game. They're going to let you thrive within their system. And they'll have some things, some principles, some things you have to do, but they still allow you to be you. And I think that's important for players to have confidence, to play free, but also,
You
to have that
mean
trust.
don't stick to the system, mostly stick to the players, right?
So they have a system, but they adapt their system, to fit their players. They meet you halfway. So it's like, this is their system, but this is your style. And they're not going to force you just to do the system. They're not going to force you just to do your style. You're going to have a middle ground where you can still be you, but you got to do it within the system. And I think that's where you meet them halfway. It's almost like a compromise where, you're going to do what's best for the team within the system, but he's going to allow you to have moments to where you can shine, where you can be who you are, where you can be special. And I think that's what I enjoyed playing for both of them. And that's when, we had success and we won championships together.
Eric, it's going to be a long one. You have won European Championship with both Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, two of the country's oldest and fiercest rivals. You also became one of the most beloved foreign players in Karşıyaka history, a club with a deep basketball tradition. You're now considered one of the most successful foreign players ever to play in Turkey. How does it feel to have earned such a place in the basketball history of a country that as a kid you might never have even imagined visiting?
Yeah, it's humbling. I mean, it's a credit to the hard work you've put in, the support system you've had, from coaches, from teammates, from staff, medical staff, everybody who's poured into you, throughout those years, helping you develop as a player, helping to keep you healthy, helping you grow. And then I think, all credit goes to God. He put you in these situations, provided you the opportunity, kept you with good health. And I think, I never thought I would be in those type of positions. I think it's something I reflect more about, when I retire, when I'm done playing. But I think, for now, like it's humbling. I'm grateful for the career I've had and for everything I've been blessed with. I came from a small college. I played NAIA too. Most people don't make it, to Europe from small colleges and these nature. So I think, shows my resilience, my heart, and then, just the great family I have. The support to be able to lift me up. So many times there's things behind the scenes where, you have your ups and downs, you have your struggles, you have your success, but they've been able to always keep me humble, keep me grounded, allow me not to take anything for granted. And then on my low moments, they're there to pick you up and lift you up. So, for me, that's why Turkey is special, because I feel like my career in Europe, who I became as a player, all that, is a credit to Turkey. And they gave me the platform to be who I am and accepted me for who I was as a player, my good and my bad. Every player has some bad too. So, they took that all and now my first time was a champion was here.
Yeah, the last question, Eric. Only 24 players have won both the Euro Cup and the EuroLeague. The list includes names like Rudy Fernandez, Ricky Rubio, Nando De Colo, Milos Teodosic. How do you see your place in the history of European basketball?
For me, I think, it's harder for, I think, Americans. Sometimes they get, overlooked because, they switch teams more. They don't have as much stability. Sometimes switching countries, where more European players are usually on the team for longer. It's easier to create legacy there. And then when you don't have a passport, those type of things, sometimes it's harder to climb the ranks. So I think, sometimes Americans could be overlooked. But for me, uh, when I first started playing basketball, my goal was, just to get a free education. That got me a scholarship. And then once I realized that, maybe there was potential for more, I wanted to play professional. And once I got there, I just wanted to be able to provide for my family. Like I never went into it wanting to make history. I just wanted to be the best player I could be. And I wanted my family to never need or want for anything. And I knew basketball could help me do that. And so when I achieved that, I never felt pressure. I never felt stress because my family, had what they needed. And so it was easy for me to play free. And then as you continue to play, your your goals shift. You start to want more and more and more. And then once I realized I could, become a champion, I could do certain things, I just felt like I was running a race with myself. I never, try to compare or compete with anyone else. Everybody has their own race. I think I've done more with basketball than I ever imagined I would do, and had more success than I ever dreamed of. So for me, happiness was in, defying my odds. Happiness was in, achieving my goals, my dreams. So, I leave history to decide where they put me, how they think of me. I think is nothing but a compliment. Maybe I'm somebody's favorite player. Maybe I'm not. This is life. But I think they will always respect my character, how I approach the game, my professionalism, and my ability to win.
Thank you so much, and I wish you good luck in the season.
Thank you.